Welcome to an all-star edition of Talk Dragon Ball, where with these Talk Dragon Balls, I get, of the podcast, I get lots of people in on this, more than just me and Jay and one other guest. We get usually two guests, and be four people here today. And we're going to talk about a really in-depth topic that I really want everybody to get involved with. We're going to talk about what would you do if Toei, like next week or whatever, if Toei gave you control of Dragon Ball, if you could pretty much promote Dragon Ball how you wanted it. And I'm not talking about fan fiction. I don't want to hear too much of I would bring back Bardock. I don't want to hear that because that's a different video. I'm speaking about more like what kind of product would you put out? Like, how would you treat the series versus how Toei is treating it now? That's what we're talking about here. And kind of what business decisions would you make is pretty much how I'm going to discuss this. Maybe a little fan fiction, but I don't want people to tell me like I would bring back Broly and then have him fight this and that. It's not even about that. It's more so about, it's still going to be Toriyama's ultimate decision. It's more so how would you distribute and promote the series. So joining me for this, first let me introduce my regular partner on this show, my heterosexual life partner, Super Jayan.
Hey guys. Always great to be on Talk Dragon Ball because I'm always on Talk Dragon Ball. One of my favorite shows to do.
Yes, it's not just a fun little talk, brother. We don't even have to edit anything. We're just talking here. It really is a podcast. And those of you out there know I hate editing. Also joining me, the man who was giggling a minute ago, the man who took a shit on the Dragon Ball community recently in one of his videos. Please welcome Mike from Laughing Stock Media. How's it going?
Hey guys, it's Mike here from Laughing Stock Media. How's it going?
Now, also joining us, please welcome back a man who we haven't had on Talk Dragon Ball in a while, from Antarctica, not space Antarctica, Antarctica right here on Earth. Please welcome Qaaman.
Alrighty, guys, it is Qaaman here today.
Quinn, I've been looking into the Hollow Earth theory recently, and one of the theories, right, is that Hitler during World War II traveled down to Antarctica and found a hole in Antarctica that took us to the center of the earth. And there's even rumors, conspiracy theories that the Nazi party is still down there, that the Nazis are still in, they found this hole that went somewhere to some kind of civilization in the center of the earth in Antarctica. Can you confirm or deny this?
Well, remember, I live in the New Zealand province of Antarctica, so if that is true, I definitely can't confirm it because I'm on the other part of the ice block.
Isn't Clayton from there?
Clayton. No,
from Space Australia, I can see a massive black hole down near the snow. So, it's probably confirmed.
Well, I've heard you like staring at black holes in the snow, so there you go. But sometimes pink holes.
Not in the snow, man. The snow's not very flattering, if you know what I mean. So I try to avoid cold conditions.
What about Snow from Dragon Ball if she grew up?
Nah, I'm not into that shit, man. I'm not into anime characters.
What about General Blue if you grew down? You know what I mean?
I'm sure he would try and have his way with me, but his cold gaze wouldn't work on me. I'd see straight through it.
His cold gaze. Yes, I see what you did there.
Because you have a cold heart.
That's true. So let's talk about what would happen with Dragon Ball. Now, I want to talk real quick about how this topic even came up, and that is, it was actually Black and Fist came up with this topic in the car ride to the airport. And we were talking about what we would do if we got control of Dragon Ball, how we would promote the series differently, because there's been so much criticism lately about how Toei's handled Dragon Ball Super. We don't have the Kaibu saga as of this recording announced yet, but I'm pretty sure it's coming by the end of the year. We don't have a dub of Super yet. Toei's extremely strongly gripping this series. Super doesn't even have a damn simulcast yet, and other Toei properties have this simulcast, and Super doesn't even have it. And a lot of people are pissed about this. And a lot of people think that Toei's handling Super kind of poorly with the bad animation and all these issues that have been going on. So how do you think Super should be done? If you were, again, we're playing fantasy here. If somebody from Toei called you up and said, listen, you are now the Kathleen Kennedy, you are the Kevin Feige, if you don't know who that is, look it up, folks, of Dragon Ball, how would you continue the series? How would you promote the franchise? We're going to start with Qaaman. What would you do if they put you in charge?
Well, you were actually mentioning it earlier, Danny Geek, when you were talking about the simulcast. I definitely think that with the knowledge that we have, that if you look at the other countries, especially in the Western Hemisphere, the Latin American countries, the Central American countries, and their level of interest in Dragon Ball, if they had a simulcast, not just in English, but in Spanish as well, I think that could have an extremely high amount of promotion for Dragon Ball Super, which would also create a lot of hype and expectations for Dragon Ball in general, in the sense that Dragon Ball's Universe 2 is coming out, so now more people are going to be interested in playing with Black Goku, and I think that would be a significant step in advertising the Dragon Ball norm. So that would probably be the primary thing I would do.
So you would basically speed along that dub, or would you just have a simulcast where it's showing the Japanese version like on Crunchyroll?
Well, I would actually have a simulcast first, but in the process of having a simulcast, I would keep constantly, just like how they've been doing with Samurai Jack, I would keep constantly saying a dub is coming, a dub is coming, a dub is coming, and that way fans have a lot to look forward to in looking at each week's individual episode, in addition to getting an upcoming dub.
Okay, what is there any other ideas you have that you might do? Just off the top of your head?
In terms of the actual story itself, I would actually try to have a lot more fan interactions. And this is more of a shonen thing. If you go back and you look at some of the Yu Yu Hakusho manga, like they would always put like, this week's favorite characters, like who's your favorite Yu Yu Hakusho character, who's your favorite Dragon Ball character. And I think if they made the manga significantly more active and actually filled in a lot of those chapters that were kind of just skipped and glossed over, I think that's another thing to make it more incentivized. Because honestly, I think there really is no incentive to read the Dragon Ball Super manga, Danny. I mean, they make some changes, but it's not as much as other manga series.
So now, obviously we're talking about Toei. Shueisha is in charge of the manga, but let's go ahead and go down that road. Would you hire Toyotaro as a full-time guy, pay him top dollar to do a weekly manga, or would you have him do bigger monthly issues and give it its own standalone graphic novel release?
Well, let's try not to be biased here, Danny, because if he did a weekly manga, that would help our channels a lot more. But looking at it from just strictly a business perspective, I think that if he did do a weekly manga, that, in addition to what I was saying before with the simulcast, that would add a lot more interest, and it would actually give people more incentive to watch Dragon Ball Super, the manga. That way they can make a better comparison to the anime version, as opposed to, we're just going to make a manga chapter like weeks or months later after this part of the series has already gone by, and it's kind of weird when you have a manga that's behind the anime series. So I definitely think a weekly manga would have kept the series more active.
It's funny that you said, a weekly manga would help out our channels. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, in this fantasy world, you're in charge of Dragon Ball. Like, that's kind of bigger than YouTube, I would say.
Well, yeah.
But is there anything else you would do as far as like the video game front or at the anime itself?
Well, for the video game front, I think that's pretty much set in stone. I would just say that the simulcast and changing up the way they're organizing the manga would probably be the two biggest things. And obviously little things too, like the animation, looks like a sloppy kindergarten drawing at times. That's something that I think everybody can generally talk about. But those are my two big things, Danny.
All right, let's move on to Mike from Laughing Stock Media. How's it going?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you doing?
I wasn't really asking you that. That's part of your... Because your new name is no longer from Laughing Stock Media. It's now from Laughing Stock Media. How's it going? We're going to add that part at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So,
makes perfect sense.
What would you do if they put you in charge of Dragon Ball? I know you want to put out a movie in War and Vision. I'd have a 5-hour Dragon Ball movie. I know you would do that, but what else would you do?
I would immediately cancel Dragon Ball Super and start releasing yearly animated films. And
really?
Yes, I would have all the films tie into one another, as opposed to like being like Resurrection F, or for some reason you decide to have a villain of the week pop up. I would have like arcs done throughout the course of trilogies, or 2 films, or even 4 films. It doesn't really have to stick within conventions. I would also start expanding the lore of the background, kind of like what Star Wars is doing now with Rogue One, where I would start to have like some films take place in the history of Trunks timeline, the unseen timeline, the story of the original Super Saiyan God, of the original Super Saiyan, of Kami when he first arrived on Earth. All that stuff, I would have all these different films or miniseries going on in the background, because there's so much stuff in Dragon Ball that you can really expand upon that is an untapped resource, and honestly is a license to print money. So I feel like, with movies, for example, the quality of the series would be significantly better because first off, we would have the top of the line animators working on a movie, more like money focused into like an hour and a half, probably 2 to 2.5 hour movie, because people will go see it as long as it's not too long. And then if we have 3 of those over the course of 3 years, you're just going to have some top quality stuff and some very well told stories that are crafted with great fight choreography, top of line voice acting, and that everyone will be going to see in theaters, which honestly could in many ways be a better boon to Dragon Balls in general as a franchise as opposed to a series, especially considering the fact that there still is no dub for the series. And I feel like for movies, there would be a greater urgency. Like with Resurrection F, we got it within a year. Whereas with Dragon Ball Super, it's been over a year since the series started, and we still have yet to see any signs of a dub coming anytime soon.
So, okay, the one thing, I agree with everything you said, but the one thing you kind of surprised me about was that you would cancel Super. Now, the problem with doing that is you're gonna have to get you're gonna be getting a lot of heat from Fuji TV and from Bandai Namco as the runner of Dragon Ball Super, or of Dragon Ball, because Dragon Ball Super generates tons of ratings for Fuji TV, and the advertising revenue that is on television when Dragon Ball Super airs. If you notice, whenever you watch Dragon Ball Super live, you get a lot of commercials for Disc Cross, Dokkan Battle, and whatever game Fusions, whatever game is coming out. So you're going to end up hurting that by doing what you're doing. So I mean, how do you compensate for that?
Well, that's where the tie-in series would come in. I mean, in place, instead of Dragon Ball Super, you would have, say, a variety of mini-series that could air, on Fuji TV, or you could have a whole background series. Like, if they really wanted to, I mean, we all know Bardock draws money. Like, I wouldn't want to do this, but if they really wanted to, we could have an anime-only spin-off series talk about Bardock after he became the original Super Saiyan.
After he killed Chilled, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things they could expand upon for TV. They could even do, like, nowadays, like, we all know how the internet is nowadays. We all know, like, the international markets that a lot of these people are trying to appeal to. So if they tried to put, like, a Netflix series, for example, like an anime Netflix anime, that could work as well. So, like, there's all these different things they could plug into. They could put a series on, like, Crunchyroll. They could do a simulcast, There's so many things I feel like they could compensate with, and then all these additional series would generate all these new merchandise, all these new characters, all these new designs. And Toriyama doesn't necessarily have to write every single one of them. He could just kind of give the general plot line, like, and bullet points, and everyone fills in everything else along the way. And he designed some characters here and there. But I feel like they'll be making so much more money as a result of all this expansion, all this stuff opened up, and then the movies on top of it, which we all know Resurrection F made a lot of money to, return on their investment, and they'd be doing that every single year. So I feel like it would, even though there would be a loss in terms of, certain revenue, and maybe the shows might not get as big of ratings, that Goku isn't, the forefront of them. I feel like overall their budget and their profit margin is going to increase dramatically.
Very good. I actually agree with a lot. You took a lot of the things I was going to say, but I'm going to add to it when it's my turn. Jay, I know that your first order of business, Jay, is to get that Kai Buu arc out. I know that'd be the first thing Jay would do is say, put it out tomorrow. What else? I mean, am I right on that?
Oh, naturally. I mean, yeah, that'd be one of my first ports of call.
For those who don't know, Jay really wants that Kai Buu arc, like, real bad, even more than Super.
Yeah, I just like things to be done in the correct order. I mean, I've kind of gotten over waiting, and I'm just watching the Dragon Boxes these days because I'm just over, stressing or thinking about it. So, yes, that's right. I stress about it because it annoys me. First thing I would do is obviously get that out, but I would also just tweak the formula a little bit and probably try and take Dragon Ball back to its glory days with basically giving the arcs a better story. I feel like Dragon Ball Super's biggest problem at the moment is its creative direction. And I think that really starts at the top. I don't know if it's the fact that Toriyama's not giving them enough information, or he's just being like giving dot points. I would put someone in charge of the series who has a true passion to actually do the series again. Someone like Toyotaro who actually wants to write the series, or would be willing to do a serialized manga that they could then adapt an anime series off. But since we've already gotten past that, I would probably just give Toyotaro the complete creative direction to do whatever the fuck
You
he
gotta
wants
be
to
careful with that, Jay, because that AF manga is not the best, man.
do. Well, Toyotaro, man, he's a lot better than that AF shit, man. And yes, I said it, you know. So like all these other mangas I see that come out by fans, I mean, they don't understand the series, whereas Toyotaro seems to have a pretty good understanding of how Toriyama used to draw the series and write the series. And this arc that we're in currently, as of this video, the Future Trunks arc, it's the best arc so far in terms of probably storytelling and concepts, but we haven't seen the final product yet. So I'm still a little bit anxious, as I'm sure many of you are. So I'd really like to take Dragon Ball back to its glory days, get a good writer in there. Basically, I think that the animation is fine. We've always had animation problems with Dragon Ball. It was highlighted early in the Battle of Gods and Resurrection of F, but I feel like for the most part since Universe 6, it's been fine. And they were retelling the movies anyways. So I wouldn't worry about the animation side too much. I really wouldn't. I would just get good, solid story in there. I would also look to release a yearly movie alongside the story, very much like they did with Dragon Ball Z back in the day. Back when they had Dragon Ball Z, you'd have a movie coming out in Japan every single year. Or even
Actually,
some
you had
years
two movies.
Some years I was going to say you would have two. I was just about to say that because Tree of Might and The World's Strongest Guy, they came out in the same year in Japan.
Yeah, every DBZ year had two movies. Yep.
Yeah, so I would look to do something like that. Really, Dragon Ball is a powerhouse, and even if you release a movie every 6 to 8 months, it's going to make you money. So I would definitely look at doing that, going back to the old formula. You wouldn't have a manga series to stay behind anymore, but I would definitely give Toyotaro complete creative rights to the series. You know, I like Toriyama. Toriyama has given me a series that I've fallen in love with, and I don't want to disrespect him or his fans because I'm a fan of him myself. But I feel like, honestly, his heart isn't 100% in it anymore, and I think that's very apparent.
I think you're right.
Many people, yeah. That's very evident in the Universe 6 arc or the adaptions. You know, he hasn't given them enough direction with how he wants the series to be done. Because let's face it, even though they were retelling Battle of Gods, retelling Resurrection of Earth, they could have made those two arcs so much better than the movies, and they didn't. And I don't feel that that's largely Toei's fault. I just feel that that's what Toriyama gave them to work with, and that's the bottom line, I think. So I think that Toyotaro would be a great addition if he became the complete creative rights to the series in terms of manga and anime, both.
Now, I agree with a lot of that. I mean, everybody made really good points. The first thing I would probably do is hire a continuity editor. That'd be the first thing, all right?
Mm-hmm.
We need to have a guy in there who's going to be able to look at plot holes and catch them before they happen. I wouldn't give a fuck what Toriyama says as far as plot holes go. Like, I would just override him if I owned the series, and I would say, look, not in a disrespectful way, but I would say, look, this is a plot hole. I don't want more plot holes. Let's fix this up by doing this, by doing that. I think that the Japanese culture is so reserved that I think that they're almost afraid of this guy, and I respect that because he's he's a legend. But like Jay said, his heart's not into it like it was back in the 90s, and of course that was his work. I would absolutely keep Toriyama around as a consultant. I would actually totally bounce ideas off of him, but there needs to be a continuity editor in there who knows the series, you know, right to back, whether it be somebody like a Herms or a K or somebody who really knows everything, front and back is what I meant to say. So that's the first thing I'd do. I love the idea of doing annual movies. I think that'd be a great idea. I would figure out a way to somehow make them fit into the continuity, or it would be a good idea to do one-shot specials too. Not just the movies, but like Mike was saying, do one-shot specials for some of the side characters. Like I would totally love like a hit special, or maybe even if you really want to really do Dragon Ball right, because the thing is, I would take a page out of what Disney's doing with both Marvel and with Star Wars. Yes. What they're doing now, they're putting out 3 movies a year. I think that's too much because, you know, there's 3 MCU movies, but I think that Dragon Ball is not as strong as the MCU is right now. So the idea would be to kind of put a lot of money into it to build the brand up and wait for the dividends. And I think the dividends would definitely come. The first thing you got to do, of course, is get that dub out and get Make sure it's a good dub, a solid dub. Make sure that we have good, high quality home releases in every country possible. I would make negotiations with every country I could to release Dragon Ball Super in a timely fashion. Also, I would still keep Dragon Ball Super around, but if you need to take a break in between arcs, I would totally do that. I don't know if I would take more than 1 or 2 months, but I would definitely take a break in between arcs and possibly even take the break in between arcs for about 8 weeks, put a movie out during that break, and then people can go see the movie and you end up making a ton of money back because then the movie can fit right in between that arc. It could be a side story. Another thing I would do is I would not only keep the manga going, I would actually hire independent manga writers like Toriyane. I would hire Naho Ishii to put out either one-shot graphic novels or to put out individual Dragon Ball series. Like I want there to be, it doesn't have to be as big, and I'm talking about internationally, not just Japan. It doesn't have to be like Marvel where there's 1,000,001, issues that are running or whatever. I mean like you have your Dragon Ball Super manga, then you've got the Botamo manga, then you've got the Hit manga. Maybe not Botamo, he's not that popular. You've got the Adventures of Kaba. You've got all these different characters having their own adventures, maybe even like a Master Roshi prequel manga. And I would have all these writers and all these authors do this, and like Mike said, little mini series of mangas. Because the reality is, producing a television show and having the voice actors work like that is going to be very difficult because the voice actors are very old compared to how they were during the Z run. And I think that putting out literature could also bring in dividends. And I think the literature has to tie into the series. People have to want to seek it out in order for it to matter, just like what Star Wars is doing with their comics. So there's got to be comics that are going to somehow give you clues about things coming in the series. That's how it should work. And I think that if they put out literature, I think it could bring in more dividends. And I think that if they treat this thing like what Star Wars is doing by having now you don't want to overflood the market by having 2 or 3 different manga series out. I think it will work. Also, the one thing I would do is I would absolutely create like a Toriyama or whatever, like a Shueisha or whatever story group, like what they did at Disney, to where you've got a couple of head guys that know where the story's going and everybody has to consult everything through those guys. I think that's going to prevent plot holes and it'll make a much more consistent story if you have just a couple guys, not Toriyama, who can be consulted with when it comes to creating these mangas to avoid plot holes. I think that that is crucial to the series lasting a very, very long time. Not to mention that of all time. No, but not to mention that I would also have guys coming up with arcs. I mean, you got to have guys coming up with arcs for the future and also take their time, with these stories. I mean, they have to just be better stories. Take the ideas that Toriyama's giving us and then make the ideas better. That's what we need. We need people to take these ideas and make them better. As far as the
make Dragon Ball Super great again.
There you go. As far as the animation goes, I would probably outsource some more animators, even from America, and have them come in and do the best that they can with the series. You're gonna have to. My plan would be to spend more money on Dragon Ball, but because Toei, this whole thing comes down to Toei right now being blind to the international market. If you put out Dragon Ball Super, if you make it high quality, and all these manga that I'm talking about have to be not only released in Latin America and in the US, they have to be translated and they have to be promoted. I would start buying ad space in fucking magazines. Well, yeah, but in magazines, I would fucking work with Funimation to have Funimation promote the manga. See, it's bullshit that Funimation and Viz are rivals, because I would have some kind of commercial or some kind of ad for the manga in the actual Blu-rays and DVDs. That way people can go out and purchase everything. And of course, that's all, capitalistic 101 shit. I just think that these are the things that should be done to make Dragon Ball just big again. I would definitely work on a better time slot than 11 o'clock at night. I would probably do something to where I would run Dragon Ball Super in the afternoons on a Friday or something, and then run the uncut one at night. Now, obviously, Super is, of course, not really that violent compared to Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, but nonetheless, I think that would be a good strategy. And of course, like Jay wants, I would definitely get that Buu Saga Blu-ray out internationally. Yeah, you got to put these out quickly, yo. And I think if they do this, I think that they will make their money back within a year and a half. I think that Dragon Ball movies are less expensive to make than Star Wars, and if you release them internationally, and if you put out one a year, focused movies, and you promote them on television, you got to get this shit on like Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon. You got to work with these networks. I think that it could be a big fucking deal. I think Dragon Ball, I've always felt this way, okay? Even though Dragon Ball and Toonami was a big thing, I've always felt that Dragon Ball is such a great series that if they aired it on prime time, like right after The Simpsons, if promoted properly, I think it could have been even bigger. I think Dragon Ball could have been even bigger than it was in the 90s had they really cranked it out properly. And I think that's what they need to do. Does anybody want to add to that? Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you, especially with the use of the internet, all this sort of stuff, social media. It's so easy to promote your product and get it out there these days. But that's the problem with Toei, and that's one of the biggest changes they have to make is to their advertising department, I think, because the fact that there is no simulcast for Super is a massive problem.
Massive.
We should be able to watch.
And you want to charge money for it too.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we should be able to log on to our computers for you guys on a Saturday night, Sunday morning for me over here in Australia. We should be able to log onto our computers and watch Super legally, just like Japan is. There's no reason why they couldn't set up a simulcast other than the fact that they don't want to. They're not interested in getting with the fucking times. So that's one of the biggest changes they need to make is to their advertising department. Because with the internet the way it is today, yeah, they could triple, quadruple their profits easily.
Inside the internets.
Of all time. I think also they need to I think also they got to bring some of those Dragon Ball games over here, dude. Like Heroes should be, I'm not saying it should be in every arcade, but put Heroes in like a Dave and Buster's. They just have to get this shit mainstream.
Project Fusion.
Yeah, that's DS game. I mean, I think that they gotta push this thing hard as they do One Piece and understand that, yes, anime has always been niche in this country. However, if they promote this not like an anime, you don't group Dragon Ball with anime, you just have it be Dragon Ball and you educate the audience, I think it could work. Also, last thing I want to say, and I think everybody will agree with this one, I would come out with the ultimate Dragon Ball box set. And what I'm talking about is this. Here's what I want. The ultimate dream box set. It's going to be bigger than the Dragon boxes. It's going to be the original frames, the original, like the remastered, like the Dragon box footage is, 4x3, whatever, with the Japanese audio tapes from K17, the quality ones, the original next episode previews in their original order, everything, the movies, Dragon Ball Z and GT in one gigantic box set. And then for America, I would release the same thing, charge a little bit more, but have it include the Funimation dub, have it include, yes, I'm going to say it, put the Bruce Faulconer music in there because people want it. Let's put it in there. And as a bonus track, it doesn't have to be the main track. It could be just on the extras. And what I really want them to do is I want them to take some episodes and add audio commentary, whether it be commentary with Sabbath, whether it be commentary with Herms. I would love it if they had commentary with some Dragon Ball historians in our community, and they did it to where you can watch an episode and you can have like Herms explain something, like a little fun fact, or maybe even like a pop-up video thing, like, boop, boop, did you know that in the original manga, Toriyama said this, but in the anime it says this? Like, you gotta really put some real production into it, bro. Like, make it mainstream shit, charge a fuck ton of money, because I promise you, people like Jay and myself will buy it. Like, we will. Quinn won't buy it, but we'll buy it. So
absolutely.
So is there anything anybody wants to add to what I just said? Do you agree with the gigantic release? What do you think?
I would make Broly a Super Saiyan Rainbow.
Fuck you.
I agree. Yeah, they should do a release with everything, even the Faulconer music.
Yeah.
They should do a release with everything. 4x3, Dragon Ball, Z, GT, all in one big pack that you can buy. because people would buy it. That's the bottom line. I really think that it's not all their fault. Funimation obviously does a lot of stuff wrong, which we've discussed in the past.
Absolutely.
Funimation has flooded the market with releases in recent years.
Yes.
Yeah, they absolutely flooded the market with releases. So a lot of people probably aren't going to buy it now, but this is a fantasy where we're saying if we were in charge of Toei, what would we do? And I think it would still be worth maybe waiting another couple of years with no releases and then releasing like the definitive Dragon Ball collection, which
I would wait. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Ball, Z, GT, all 4x3, original first generation film with the K-17 Masters. That would be fantastic. I would fork out $1,000 for all of the series that way. That's me. I'm not expecting everyone to fork out $1,000.
And the movies, all the specials, all the OVAs, everything. Super could be its own release, but I would probably package Super and Kai together. I would have the Kai. I would have the HD, as Jay would say, the HG generation, and then the old school generation. Mike, what do you think? Oh, go ahead, Jay.
I was just going to finish. Yeah, Kai should be grouped in with Super. I just feel that because they use so many flashbacks to Kai, and Kai obviously has more of a flowing pace that feels very similar to what Super does. So I would probably go with Kai and box that together with Super. I would also box. See, that's the thing. I would box all the digital stuff together almost. So I would feel inclined to box the Resurrection of Earth, Battle of Gods movies in with Super as well. They should be a part of that series.
I would box Swan's brother in his backyard.
All right, Mike. Anything else you want to add to this, or Quinn?
I mean, honestly, I feel like pretty much everything we've already said is what we would do or what I would do. Only other thing I would say is that I'd probably make Toei a lot more accessible to people online. You know what I mean? Like, I'd make a website where people could send in their own ideas, even though it would be 12-year-olds constantly saying, "Oh, I want Broly, I want Bardock," you know. But
what they could do is do public.
They could do
public polls. They could do public polls.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be cool. Like, which character do you want to be featured in this special that we're going to do next? And then they would, like, poll people, and whoever is the most popular, like you said, maybe Hit would get his own special. Maybe, maybe all the Team Universe 6, the training up until that moment, all their motivations and stuff, it ties in. It's like, oh, so now I care about these characters when I didn't do it before. There's so many things they could do that I feel like really they need to take advantage of. And honestly, it's foolish that they're not doing so right now.
No, exactly. And that's my point, is that we went to this Universe 6 tournament not knowing a goddamn thing about any of these characters, and we left knowing very little. I think they all deserve their own series. I would do a Universe 6 Freedom Fighter series, dude. Even if it's just a manga, even if it's just like a comic, I would do that because people need to know more about these characters. Also, I would translate all of the the Kanzenban, translate it internationally so that people could read it and put them out too, bro. I mean, I don't know how much I would charge, maybe make it a digital release, but I would definitely do that as well. Anybody else want to add anything to this?
Yeah, you actually kind of inspired me with that last comment, Danny. I was always thinking that, like, the Daishenzus, I think, would be very, very, very interesting for a lot of hardcore Dragon Ball fans. But most importantly, I think, in
your videos as an extra material on one of the DVDs.
Come on, bro. No, but one of the videos I talked about when I was talking about all of those really rare specials, I think if you did, like, maybe a release with, like, along with the Dragon Ball movies of, like, all those specials, like the original Plan to Eradicate the Saiyans, or the summer vacations.
You mean Science?
Well, those, just for the record, those did come out in Japan in the Dragon boxes. Those are available over there.
But I'm saying if they re-release those in English for English fans, maybe remastered, I think that would be really interesting because people would be like, "What the fuck is this? I've never seen this." And I think it would really be interesting for the hardcores and the crossover specials too. That would be cool.
Yeah. Well, how many Piccolo specials would you release of him just sitting around meditating, drinking water, and getting beaten by chopsticks? That's my question.
And now we go to the gag part of the show where Mike will tell you how he will write Gohan into the show and make him relevant again.
Oh, God. And then I'm going to write into the show about how Vegeta will never kill anybody ever in the series again.
No, you won't. You watch. Trunks will be the one to kill Black. I'm calling it now.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. All right.
Racist.
All right. Well, we're done. Thanks, everybody, for checking it out. Let us know, of course, what you would do with Dragon Ball. What kind of ideas do you have? And I want more Dragon Ball Monopoly, bro. Put that out again. How about Dragon Ball Loaded Questions? There you go. Dragon Ball Cards Against Humanity. Maybe that's too much. But all right, and let us know. Of course, check out Mike from Laughing Stock Media. You've probably already checked him out in the past. Check out Super Jay, and he's always with me, always friendly. Except if you're gonna be angry, if you're gonna be a dick to Jay, well, he might be a dick to you first sometimes. And then, of course,
maybe if you're ignorant, if you are culturally ignorant and you just make stupid statements like, "Oh, I can't watch Dragon Ball without the Bruce Faulkner music," then I will be mean to you. Yes.
Jay is very cutthroat when it comes to that. Not me. I love all of you, even if you're wrong or right, whatever. And then, of course, Qaaman, the friendliest of all the Dragon Ball YouTubers, who, because of his history, of his family lineage, he is the teacher, so to speak.
Hey, Denny, read to your subscribers what my Skype message says right now.
All right,
under my name, what does it say?
Let's take a. I'm so scared.
That's been there for a while. That's not just something I just put in now.
No, I'm not gonna read that. All I'm gonna say is she had a fake ID, and I thought it was a good idea at the time. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's what Trunks is gonna say about mine in a few episodes. If you know what I mean.
Oh, I know what you mean. But all right, well, thanks everybody for checking it out. Talk to y'all later.